Welcome to Comedians and Elevators podcast. I've got my guests Felix and Eddie. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead. Introduce
Yeah, I
yourselves
could
and
go
tell us a little bit
first.
about. Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, my name is Felix Nolasco. I recently graduated from Full Sail University through the Masters of Fine Arts film production, and I'm using my thesis project I used to like graduate and turning it into a proof of concept in order to be turned into a feature film. So
Very cool. Very cool. Where are you in the process?
yeah, currently I'm in like the distribution process. I'm like submitting it through like film festivals. I'm
Okay.
also trying to create a community through social media to help like fund like like it's very expensive like film festival submissions. So I'm trying to like build a community and within that community like have like a crowdfunding page and trying to like help the people. I mean, try to like submit it through like film festivals because like it's like crazy expensive. So that's my goal for
For
right now.
sure.
So
What genre is it?
oh, it's a horror film.
Oh, all right. Is there a comedy horror or is it just
Yeah,
straight horror?
it's kind of similar to Get Out, where it
Okay.
has comedy elements, but it's
Right, right.
predominantly a horror film. So yeah,
Very cool. So basically the timing is comedy, but the content is horror.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Awesome. Eddie, how about you?
Well, Keenan, are we calling you chef or just
You
Keenan?
know what? That's definitely
yeah.
there's
Oh, that's an advisor?
it is a visor. There's different
Okay,
angles here. So yeah, I'm the chef.
there you go. Well, Chef Keenan, my name's Eddy Vanegas. I'm here in Orlando, Florida. I'm an actor based here in Orlando. I've been acting for close to half a decade, and I co-produced and acted in the film Catharsis. So, very great opportunity. And I'm really thankful to be here today alongside with Felix and support him in his journey and be part of each other's journey.
Well, you know what? All of our paths are aligned. As we were talking before, I got Robot Tarot. It's basically paralleling what both of you are doing. So we can get into
Yeah.
more of that those details later for everyone else that's watching. But let's get into it. So the whole point of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian. So let me define it real quick. So the comedian is a funny person telling any jokes versus the comic, who's any person telling funny jokes. So it's two sides of the same coin. All right. So, first question: how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus the real self? Who wants to go first?
Felix.
Yeah, I could go first. I think like for comedians, they a lot of them like use a lot of their pain in order to alleviate it through comedy. So a great example is like Jim Carrey, who had like a very like rough his like childhood history of being like very like dirt poor. Um, and he actually like used a lot of that pain of being like a lot of pain that he suffered through that experience through his a lot of his comedy. So I think it's a lot comes from a lot of like trauma that they use into their like performances. So yeah.
Very good. Well, the good thing is there's two parts to this question. So, Eddie, I'll ask you the second part, which is like the first. Does authenticity matter or is delusion part of the magic?
Does authenticity matter or is delusion part of the magic? I have a question for
I heard
you.
delusion. I heard delusion. That might be a
Oh,
key.
or you said, repeat the question one more time.
I said illusion, but I heard
Illusion. Oh,
delusion.
okay.
So I think
Okay.
you're already answering the question there. So yeah, maybe it is a delusional kind of perspective. So
Well,
does authenticity matter?
I think it matters to the individual and how they approach the work, right?
Hmm.
There's the presentational and the presentational and the representational approach to it. One of those is more from internal out, and then the other one's more external in. I believe that no matter what, everything should be in truth, because how can you can fake authenticity. I feel like a lot of people might sometimes get in their head or have the fake it till you make it to have the need to come across as authentic. But by doing that, you're sabotaging a truth that lies within yourself. and sometimes that can take away some of the magic.
Now that truly is a profound answer. That gets to the heart of how I'm looking at the comic versus comedian. Perhaps
Yeah.
to define additional definitions, the comic has this external authenticity where the comedian has the internal one, right? And so for stand-up comedy, you got to do, well, I'm arguing you got to do both. Does that align with how you're seeing it, Eddie?
Okay, yeah, in that context, I can see that. Just be like a river, right? You got to
Right.
flow, and if you're in the moment, uh, determine what the truth and the words that come out, or what your soul wants to say, and whether and you can be between both gears, right? So that is a very interesting way to approach it, and I think that there is truth in both. I think just being whatever the truth is in the moment is ultimately the most authentic version of yourself. My
Uh,
one of my acting professors and mentors always says, "Thought is the fastest thing in the universe." Right? Let the thoughts be the genesis of the action, not the action. The thought, the not the action be the genesis of the thought.
Let the action be the genesis of the thought. Is that what you said?
Let the thought be
Ah,
the genesis of the action, not the
okay.
action be the genesis of the thought. Like right
But we
now,
can
we're not.
always
Go ahead.
go ahead. Well, I was going to say we can always take action and that will produce a thought. Is that correct?
That's fair, but and it depends on the setting, right?
Right.
I'm looking at it more from an actor's point of view. So I think that it's also um, huh,
No,
the
no, this is the whole point because it's two sides of the same coin, at least from my perspective. So you're
right.
coming at it from the internal more prominently. So you're definitely leaning towards the comedian perspective. And that's why comedy is so difficult because truly you got
Yeah,
to have both. You have to have the external,
absolutely.
right? So let's go to
Yeah,
the next question because this is only going to get
that's a good
deeper.
one though.
No, no, it's a good. That's the first one. So the second one is hopefully goes bunker busting. All right, punching up versus punching down. Where do comics versus comedians stand on this? So Felix, here's the question: is the audience agreement with a comedian a form of permission or alignment?
I think it's a form, I think it leans more towards alignment because with it's always like a leap in like logic. A lot of comedians, they try to often say something that everybody's like familiar and have like an understanding, even though like it's some at times could be like outrageous and like over the top. There's like an element of like understanding of where they're coming from. So it's a lot of like alignment there.
Okay.
And every time, whereas like when a joke falls, it's like they're coming from a place that people don't like understand or like aren't familiar with like whatsoever. So because like it doesn't have that relatability at all, so they can't understand what they're trying to say. So yeah,
Hmm. So would you? So what if you can never be aligned, right? So then you might as well just go with what you got, which you perhaps would need permission for.
right.
That's one. That's how I see the comedian perspective. Eddie, what do you think?
Oh well, and where do comics and is remind me of the
Permission,
question.
permission or alignment?
Permission or alignment?
They're very close. They're on the
Yeah.
same line in different directions, right? Two different vectors.
And you're saying in the context of the comic and the comedian?
Yes, you see where the difficulty lies.
Mhm.
This is where the gold is. So the audience is agreeing, is participating, but are they participating as a form of permission or alignment?
Okay. I would say if I had, man, I see where you see the permission from because your people are allowing you to be part of that moment for them. The alignment, however, speaks to me much more about what is the energy, right? And that's
100%.
that's soul energy. So I'm gonna go with alignment.
Mhm.
I tend to agree. I tend to
Yeah.
agree, but permission has a certain authenticity itself. Would you agree?
It can, right?
Yeah.
It can. I think going back to what we said, what I said a little bit ago, got to be like a river. Got to
Right.
be able to flow and determine where the flow is going to take you.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
could,
that's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like in terms of like permission, you could like make an audience think of something that they never even thought of before. So like it's like
Exactly.
you're giving them permission to like have this point of view that they never had like recently. So it could be that
That's a
as
great
well.
point, Felix.
That's
Yeah.
exactly where I'm coming from with that one. Now, by the way, in case you didn't know, all of these questions are generated by ChatGPT. So,
Oh, well,
and
look
I
at
say,
that.
and I
Yeah, it's
said
very
these are
complicated, complex questions.
they
Yeah.
are very complex questions, but so far everyone's been on point with them. All right, next
Yeah.
question: cultural translation of comedy. How do jokes that work in one country, region, area, city bomb in another? Felix, what do you say?
Yeah, I would say like people have like different customs. Like for example, like the US, like a lot of like successful comedians, a lot of them are very like vulgar, very very like raunchy, very like risque, and like
Hmm.
a lot of that doesn't work. Like that's like completely like outlawed in like other countries that's like very like religious and have like these very like strict customs. Like you can like
Hmm.
have like a comedian like for example like Eddie Murphy like in his heyday like do like a stand-up comedy like in like I don't know like Abu Dhabi like it's just not gonna like translate. You can't like have that kind of like off like that very like raunchy comedy in like a very like religious like place. Like you can't, it doesn't work.
I mean, it could be dangerous, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
it's very dangerous. Yeah.
All right, Eddie, I'm going to throw a twist at you with the second part of the same question. So, are comics more universal while comedians are more culturally specific?
Hmm.
So the idea is that the comic is the one that's telling funny jokes, but the comedian's the funny person.
Repeat the
Super
question.
nuanced. Yeah, super
Yeah,
nuanced.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what
This
prompt you use for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Great, very
uh,
nuanced, deep thought questions.
yeah, so there is a secret to that, but I'm not going to tell it to you yet.
Of
It's
course.
kind of following up on Felix's point is the idea of the universality, like
Yeah.
in Abu Dhabi, like how, can it be universal there? It's a very metropolitan,
Yeah.
very kind of affluent, wealthy, knowledgeable area, right? And
Sure.
so is that potentially a universal component?
Well, I think the comedian, yeah, I would say the comedian is more universal. Uh and the comic, because when you said the first part of that question, I was born in Venezuela, right? And I've seen some of the Venezuelan stand up. And even within
Okay.
Latin America, what works for Venezuela might not necessarily work for Colombia. Same thing as what might
Right.
work for people in Florida might not work for people in California because of relatability, right?
Right.
So I
100%.
think that relatability is a key part there. But yeah, I think with comedians and people can, if you can make somebody laugh somewhere in the world, you could probably make somebody laugh in another part of the world. But the delivery, it's what matters, and the power of the word.
Well, that brings us to the next question. So, crowd work versus crafted work. So, I would argue that the comic riffs, like crowd work, for example, and comedians perform like crafted work. So,
Mm-hmm.
Felix, where is the sweet spot?
Sweet spot. Wait, can you explain like the difference between like crowd work and crafted work?
Well, crowd work would be basically the comic or comedian. I'd say comic is basically riffing with the audience, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
It's basically he's pulling all the material from them, and then the comedian is more just going, he's the one telling the jokes and everyone's watching.
I think it's like the sweet spot is like you already have material that that you know is gonna work,
Right.
and but at the same time, like as you're doing it, you start hopping up like these like great ideas that you can like actually like interact with the audience with. Because I see a lot of that comedians that they have like this great joke and they start like talking to the audience about it and it gets even better and better as he goes along. So I think that's the sweet spot of it.
100%. Eddie, I'm going
Yeah.
to throw you at the second part of the question. What happens when a comic leans too much into crowd work or when a comedian gets heckled?
Uh,
Oh, if you lean too much into the crowd work, then you run the risk of losing control, right? Because
Yeah,
then now you're just crowd working. So if something and hey, to each their own, right? To absolutely each their own. You see people that are amazing at it. Um,
I
and
have
then
seen it. I have seen it on a special where it gets out of control because they have to fill this time with only crowd
yeah,
work in it, and you're like, oh, this is not. It worked the
yeah,
first few minutes, but now it ain't working, and you're not
yeah,
switching.
and then it could turn more into crowd work itself is a huge skill.
Right.
Absolutely. Huge. But going back to what you said, the crafted work, right?
Mhm.
The like I've done some stand up in the past, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed it, but one thing that I didn't enjoy completely of it is that the work that had to be put in to have a successful a few minutes, it's very demanding, and
Mhm.
in my opinion it didn't align with me at the time. Like who knows what happens down the road.
Right.
um and that's where I feel like I have a lot of experience with improv comedy.
Mhm.
Improv comedy, I would say, is more like sort of crowd work, and then doing stand up, that's more of the crafted work. Not improv can definitely go, both things can go both ways. But I when you think of crafted work and comedian per se, I immediately thought of Adam Sandler, right? Like
Okay.
that's a whole show, that's preparation, and going back to the heckling, it depends on, most comedians can take it or not, but who knows what the words are said, and is the comedian able to still be the captain of the ship? Because
Exactly.
if you think about it like that, it's one, the person on stage is the captain of the ship, not everybody in the crowd. But if you lose control, like who is the person directing traffic?
No, 100%, 100%. On the money with that one. All right, Felix. Advertising and self-promotion. Who advertises themselves more, a comic or a comedian? You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast to get the message out today. See you soon.
hmm.
Mm.
Oh, it has to be a comedian for sure. Because like for like comics, I feel like they already have like a built-in
The fan
I
base?
don't yeah, they already have like a built-in like fan base. They already have like people working for them in order to like help promote their brand. Whereas like comedians like they're all on their own. Like they don't have like a whole like system that helps like promote like their talent like that they're like on their own on that stage. So I think it's more the comedians that have to like self-promote themselves. So yeah.
Is that because of authenticity and that nobody is
Yeah,
following their.
exactly. Yeah, it's all about like because they only have like themselves. They don't have like external like factors compared to like comics. Because they're
Now
on their
that's
own on their stage. Yeah. So
right. That's why there's two sides of the same coin because
yeah.
if you're alone forever, you're alone forever, right? So
Yeah,
you do
exactly.
need to lean into that part. All right. So Eddie, is self-promotion seen as selling out or is it necessary for survival?
Oh, necessary for survival.
Yeah.
I think
Good.
um
Softball question.
yeah, right. There you go. I know, who knows what's coming next, right?
All right.
Uh I would say that yeah, you need to do it. because there is magic if someone happens to just stumble across you, right?
Mhm.
But depends on where you're at in your career, right? Like for example,
100%.
in this week, Orlando Fringe starts here, and Orlando Fringe is one of the largest fringe festivals in the world, my understanding, and it's based here in Orlando. And you see a lot of artists, comics, comedians, and everything in between, that are handing out, hey, come to my show, come to my show, come to
Yeah.
my show,
Yeah.
come to our show. And then you also have the people, I guess it all comes down to the belief and what your truth is, right? There's people that are like, come to my show. And then there's also people that could be like, I'll let the show come to you.
There is a sequence to that. So, right. So the bringer shows, right? You got to start there. But once you got
No,
it set
yeah.
up, then people can come.
It's like
All right.
that, well, it's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come,
Yes.
you
Yes. Of
know?
course. Yeah. Yeah. That's from that's the external to the internal, right?
That's where it came from, right? That's where it came from, right? No?
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Right. All right. Next question.
Yeah, don't
Censorship.
don't get Felix started on
Is that
film.
is that your
Yeah,
movie?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love Field of Dreams. Yeah.
Oh no,
Right.
external to internal, right? If you take the actions, it will turn into something. That's how I see
Yeah.
it. I mean, and then from the internal, you can go and it flows, and that's where the flow comes from. Would you agree, Eddie?
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an easy definition. All right, censorship and offense. Felix, does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point?
Hmm.
The comic's the one that's telling funny jokes, and the comedian's the funny person.
I think it's can you say that again? That's a tough one. Yeah.
Does a comic avoid offense while a comedian courts it to prove a point? Do you see self censorship at anywhere?
Yeah, I do. But that's the thing. I think I remember like George Carlin said that you could really like make anything like funny, even like the most offensive, most horrible thing. Because like if it makes a person laugh, they were able to like forgive you for like how like offensive it can be. So like, because I think they don't but however, if it doesn't land for somebody, they'll find it like very like off-putting and very inappropriate. So I think it
Yeah.
all depends on like how funny the joke is, no matter how uh awful it can be. So yeah.
Yeah. Eddie, who would survive better in a cancel culture environment, a comic or a comedian?
Oof. I think the comedian.
Okay. Because of authenticity,
Yeah, because of authenticity. I think
but the comic's playing it safe, right?
Yeah.
comic is playing it safe, and this is a safe space, right?
I mean, we're going to be online, so we're safe now.
Yeah.
Right there you go. Well, this is something that a lot of that went viral, right? With Dave Chappelle and a monologue he had for SNL,
Mhm.
and that it comes down to the delivery, right? And I think in today's world, now there are some things that it's like, to each your own, but listen, different strokes for different folks, right?
Mhm. So you have to have a different folks, right? If you are all the same folks and you're trying to do that joke,
Yeah, you can't be
that's where you
generalized, right? It's
exactly
like
has to be specific.
yeah, absolutely. Let's take it in terms of like diet, right? Hey, you can't convince someone that likes meat or is on a carnivore diet to go vegan because they have their thoughts and everything. But the algorithm is like, yeah, man, or yeah, girl, you're on the right path. And on the 180 of that, you have people that are vegan that no way you can convince them to be on a carnivore diet. But for them, their algorithm and their content is like, you're doing the right thing. So you can't always appeal to the masses. And I think that's the beauty of it.
100%. I mean,
If you try to appeal to the masses, what are you?
Yeah,
you're
this yeah, there's a
Picking
quote.
boxes.
If you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one.
yes, exactly. I
Yeah.
would agree 100%. You're the
Yeah.
follower to the
Yeah.
group, the majority. How can you be a follower to the majority? That's not a
Yeah.
leadership. They're not leaders. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
All right, next. That was easy. Next question. Laughter versus applause. Are comics chasing laughs and comedians chasing applause breaks that validate the message? What do you say, Felix?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's comedians are chasing for the laughs because that's what they're like hired to do. Whereas like comics, I think they're more focused on entertaining a crowd versus making them like laugh. So I think that's like the division between the two. So
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Eddie, what do you say?
Oh, I say I feel like I'm experiencing this more that like the comedian's the one that's more based in art and craft,
Yeah.
right? So the comedian maybe doesn't care about your applause. The comedian is there to make you forget about the world for a little bit. And maybe the comic, while that's their still maybe that's still their intent, maybe the comic is maybe a little bit more there for themselves in this context.
I think, yeah,
Maybe
you're hitting a secret there that maybe the comic is just wearing a mask and the comedian is exposing themselves from the
Yeah.
internal,
Hmm.
right?
like
Yeah.
External.
I've seen some stand up, and I know people gotta sometimes put on a show when they go up for stand up, and they're not always the same. Like same thing, like no, it's on the trailer, no spoilers, but on our short film, I play a ghost, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not a ghost, right? I'm very real. I'm right here, and in that moment, just trying to find the authenticity, and maybe the human became the ghost. The ghost doesn't become human, right? Could it be said that the comic is the one that turns into the comedian, not the comedian into the comic? Is that is
I,
it is that the evolution?
Yeah.
that is exactly where I'm coming from, is that there's a potential evolution there.
Hmm.
And because of that, that's where the flow occurs. So, if there's going to be a historical trajectory, that's my argument. All right. Comedy as commentary. When does a comedian cross into becoming a preacher or philosopher? What do you say, Felix?
I think it happens once they like build like a following, like
Mhm.
um once like they have like a following, they start to like really like show who they truly are and like try to um show like what they stand across like politics and like just um like their worldview in general. And that's when like because I see that a lot when it comes to let me see what's a good one. Yeah, like Dave Chappelle, because like you
Mhm.
see, because like he was just making like a bunch of like frivolous like jokes like in the
Sure.
beginning of his career, but like as he like grew older, like become like he starts like adding a lot more politics and like discussing more of his worldview with like the within the community that he represents. So yeah, I think that's
No,
a
I 100% agree. Dave Chappelle is a good example of someone that's perhaps getting more philosophical or even preacher like.
yeah.
But so for Eddie, the question is that good or does it dilute the humor? Has Dave Chappelle gotten better or worse over time?
I think Dave Chappelle's become more Dave Chappelle.
Okay. That's
I th- I,
that's
I think it's about delivering your truth, right? I'm big
Mhm.
on like, hey,
no
whatever your
100%.
truth is, that's
Yeah.
because even from the time that we filmed this, I feel, and it's a good thing, and I'm confident. Actually, I know I can speak for Felix on this that we've become better at what we do
Mhm.
since we did this, right? It's all about experiences.
Hmm.
So it's yeah, it's all about the evolution, right?
100%.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
like you,
huh?
my bad. Yeah, you learn like best from your failures for sure. Because this is like
Yeah.
my fourth short film I did, and I learned a lot from like, because like the other three I did was just absolutely like terrible, like horrible. Like I would literally like show it to no one. But like through that experience, like I started like to grow and understand like what I have to do in order to like make this one like right. Because I only have one shot at making a thesis film. That's it. It's over. So yeah.
Well, I mean, 100%. That's the whole point is
What
that
do
we
you think,
evolve.
Keenan? You're asking us
I,
questions. We haven't asked you
well,
yet.
I think, how do I think? I think, Dave Chappelle is a good example of someone who is evolving, and I think he is more of a preacher at this point, but he's become a style in and of itself,
Yeah.
it's become a new form of joke structure. So that's where I think the magic is he's taken it to another level that's almost impossible to mimic because you have to actually get to that pinnacle as a comedian from starting as a comic, and then you start a new version of the comic all over again that nobody has ever seen happen before. And I think that's what we're witnessing with Dave Chappelle. He may be like, that's not what I'm doing, but that's how I see it. I put him in a box like that, which is like transcendent, out of the box.
Sure.
Does that make sense? That wasn't comedy, but that
Okay.
was how I see it. All right, comedy and vulnerability. Is the L silent in that word? That's the first question because I can't pronounce it.
No, no, it isn't. Answer it.
It's not.
Vulnerability.
You say the first L in vulnerability.
Vul,
Uh,
vulnerability.
okay, I
Or
can't
now,
do
now,
it.
now you're making me think. Vulnerability.
That's right. That's
Uh,
right. The reason why I asked that is when I read the word, I can't say it. When I just say the word, it comes out right. The
vulnerability. Yeah.
difference is the L. The L is missing
Mm.
when you say it out loud. All right. Do comics hide behind jokes and comedians? Well, I say the comics do hide behind jokes and comedians do expose themselves. So this is a loaded question. Which one is braver? What do you say, Felix?
Oh, that's for me, it's easily like the one who isn't afraid just like yeah, it's the comedian for me because that they aren't afraid like to like really like expose like who they truly are inside instead of like hiding away like with like frivolous jokes as being like a comic. So I think it's the comedian for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say, Eddie?
I say that,
Are comics
well, that
are
definitely the comedian.
comics cowards? Okay, yeah. Basically, it's
That-
suggesting that comics are cowards, right?
Yeah.
I think it depends, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just got to be good at what you're good at, right?
Right.
There's listen, not everybody on the football field is the quarterback, right? The quarterback
Mhm.
can't. It, the quarterback might be, some say, and I believe it. The most important player on the field, but that doesn't mean that the quarterback can play center, and the
Right.
center definitely can't play quarterback.
Well, Tim
Uh,
Tebow did that, but other than that,
huh? What
Tim
was that?
Tebow, I think, is the only Tim Tebow is the only example of the lineman
And a
playing
tight end.
quarterback.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Right.
I would also say that you look at somebody like Jack Nicholson, right? He was good at what he was good at. He was a very great actor. Maybe he was typecast a little bit, but he played his role of kind of like the crazy guy per se, like really solid, and he brought his truth to it. The comedian is definitely braver in my book because you gotta you gotta go up there and feel as comfortable as you would if you were naked.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're emotionally naked. The words come out naked, and that's where the truth is, right? And the comics, maybe they maybe can't get there, right? Or they don't want to, but that doesn't mean that there's probably not some really there's definitely great comics, and if that's what they like to do, that's what they like to do. But yeah, comedian for sure.
I love your description. I can tell you because I do stand up that you are naked up there. So the
Mhm.
question is are you going to be authentic with your nudity or are you going to put a mask on? And that's how I see the comic. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've ever danced naked by putting a mask on. It changes everything. As an actor, Eddie, have you ever tried that? That's a side
I
question.
have not. You're saying
Try
you're,
it.
you're
Yeah, dance with a mask.
recommending
Dance naked
literally
with. Yeah, literally
you're
dance naked with a mask on and see what
you're
happens.
recommending to dance naked in my room with a mask on?
Yeah, without and then with, and see what happens mentally. It's a
I'll
different.
do it. I'll do it.
All right, Felix. Last
All right.
question. Legacy.
I won't publish that video though.
No, it's all right. Yeah, but do it in the mirror.
Yeah,
Legacy. Who
I'll
gets
do that too.
remembered?
Why not? I'll do the
Do that
same
in the
thing.
mirror. That's the
Yeah, why
that's the way
not?
to do
The
it.
three
You
of
got to
us.
see the mat. Well, no, first do it without. You just experiment and
Yeah,
have
I'll do
your.
it too. Yeah.
All right, legacy. Who gets remembered? Will the comics tight five survive time, or the comedian's cultural point of view be more timeless? What do you say, Felix?
Yeah, I think the comedian's cultural view would be more timeless because like they're trying to like say something that's like very poignant and it's trying to like that's like causing like a lot of people like to like create like a movement through like their jokes, even though like it's supposed to be like entertainment. So yeah, I'll say a comedian. Yeah.
Awesome. What do you say, Eddie?
Culture for sure, the comedian.
Yeah.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Well, I appreciate both you guys, Felix, Eddie. Thank you for being my guest. Is there anywhere you like everyone to find you online?
Man, that was that elevator trip took a lot less time than I thought.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
less
fun.
than 30 minutes. Yeah,
I had a fun
100%.
time.
We're going to have to do it again. That's what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, Felix, go first, and then I'll do mine.
Yeah, so like, I have it right here, like the yeah. Oh, kind of see it. Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
catharsis.
nice.
Yeah, so we're on like Facebook. All right, so we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So like for like the catharsis movie. Yeah, because so it's basically like, all right, after his brother's death, the comedic actor tries to replace him in Macbeth, but in doing so, he needs the approval of a maniacal director as his past skill starts to haunt him. So that's like the whole idea of it, and we're trying to like turning it into a feature. So there you go.
Awesome. Eddie?
Yeah, and my name's Eddy Vanegas, EDDYVANEGAS. You can Google me, and I'm one of the top hits. I'm on Instagram. I'm on social media, and I look forward to hearing from you. Hopefully, collaborating. And big round of applause for Keenan
Yeah.
for being a platform for creatives. And we want
Awesome.
to talk to you again, Keenan. Hear more about your
I
products,
appreciate it.
projects, and support you as well.
I appreciate it. We got a lot coming. And everyone else, thank you for watching Comedians and Elevators podcast. See you
All
soon.
right, thank you. Yeah.
I'm gonna get off on this floor.